What a great little song! But did you know it was a cover? Hey everybody, today we're going to take a little jaunt down memory lane to look at some of the songs that are so burnt into our minds and into our memories that they are literally a part of our very being. But so many of those songs, whether we know it or not, were cover tunes. Now we're not going to get into songs that were written by one person for another person. We'd probably be here all day. But I'm talking about songs that were actually committed to vinyl tape or something, already released and then picked up by another musician and put back out again, and they score a home run, or at least something that we all associate with them. I mean, we can start off by taking somebody like Santana. You think of Santana, you automatically think Black Magic Woman. It's just burnt into your brain. But really, Black Magic Woman was an old tune by the Fleetwood Mac, written by Peter Green. And yet, for some reason, we always think Santana. And there are so many other examples of things like that. Another example would be Jimi Hendrix's All Along the Watchtower. But really, All Along the Watchtower was released not that many years before and written by Bob Dylan. Yet when you think of Jimi Hendrix, let's face it, you think Watchtower, you think Purple Haze. Maybe Foxy Lady or The Wind Cries Mary, but you get it. You get it. It's one of his signature songs that he's known for. Happened to be a cover, though. Another one would be Sinead O'Connor. Come on. Her song will always be Nothing Compares to You. When people look back at her, they're going to think of one tune, period, point blank, that is it, and nothing else, really. Yet, that was released by Prince, written by him too, on an album beforehand. Her company gave it to her, she ran with it, and boom, all of a sudden this little ditty that he had thrown out and just kind of went into the ethos, she had a huge hit with. And that's one of the songs, if not the only song, everybody's always going to associate and remember her for. And this goes across all genres. I mean, you can have something that's like as poppy and silly as Soft Cell doing Tainted Love. But it was a song that was around before. We're talking about Gloria Jones had already put that out years prior. They took it, shifted it around a bit, made it more poppy, threw a drum machine on it. You know how the 80s were. And scored a giant hit. You got Janis Joplin with Me and Bobby McGee. That was already released by Roger Miller on one of his albums. It was written by Chris Christopherson, but released by Roger Miller before. Yet, when you think of Janis Joplin, that's probably the tune you're always going to go to. One of the great and most ironic ones of all times that I could even think of is Whitney Houston doing I Will Always Love You. That was already released by Dolly Parton. She was written by Dolly Parton. But the craziest part is it was rewritten and released for a movie. It was for The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. So you have a song that was on a movie soundtrack written by somebody, re-released a few years later on another movie soundtrack by somebody, and it becomes this mega monolithic, call it whatever you will, kind of hit. It was actually the closing song on each friggin' movie, for Christ's sake. So the idea that they just lifted it and used it again is amazing, but the amount of heat it drew, the amount of listens it got is amazing. I mean, that song was huge. Now we could always go back to the 60s too. I mean, Elvis in his blue suede shoes, well, that was a Carl Perkins tune. They already put out. Now, the funny part about that is that you can't really almost take that era from the 50s and early 60s because that happened so much. People were swapping songs all over the place, left and right. It was insane. But you always think blue suede shoes. You usually go to Elvis. You don't really think Carl. One that might blow your mind is Aretha Franklin. Picture it right now in your mind. Aretha Franklin. What are you going to think? R-E-S-P-E-C-T, respect, right? You're going to go there. You can't stop yourself. But that was really released by Otis Redding a couple of years before. Otis Redding, a guy. So, that's what I mean. These songs might have different beginnings to where they wound up, and they might have become anthems or something. But you never quite know. Take something like Ace Frehley. Come on. Ace Frehley from Kiss. I'm back in the New York groove. That was really put out by a glam band called Hello prior to him. It was kind of an oddball cover for him to even do, but You think his solo career, first thing people think, back to the New York Groove. Let's talk about Tina and Ike. If you think Tina Turner, well, mostly when it was Ike and Tina in their review, you think Proud Mary. You always will. You just see her doing the dance. Da-da-da, da-da-da, and she's shuffling around all over the place and shit. Incredible. It was really put out and done by Creedence Clearwater Revival previously. But people don't really think about that one that much. They just think Tina Turner. And a menacing, unhappy-looking Ike in the background, but we won't get into that. It just is what it is. I mean, do I need to even explain it anymore? In the 80s, the Bangles had Hazy Shade of Winter. But really, that was put out by Simon and Garfunkel way before they ever touched it. So, you hear that song, you hear them singing it, you're like, oh, did I hear that before? Well, you most definitely did. One of the ones that kind of jumps out at you, obviously, was when Metallica did Turn the Page. I mean, that's a major song for Bob Seger. It's a huge song for Bob Seger. It's probably one of the songs that you most associate with Bob Seger. So, that one was kind of a given. You kind of knew going in. But actually, to some of the people of the very, very young generation, when they heard it, they're like, oh, what a great song. We heard it before. And I think done better, by the way. Then sometimes you have a song that's just so redone, you can't keep track of where it even came from. Take like Leonard Cohen when he did Hallelujah. You know that thing's been covered over 300 different times in almost every language known to mankind all over the globe. You know, we've seen Buckley do it, we've seen Bon Jovi do it, we've seen a lot of people do it. But it's his tune. Nobody ever thinks about that though. Well, maybe some of us do, but most don't. That's kind of a shame. Sometimes you have bands that do a couple covers or something like that, and it's not really their big selling points, but they threw them in there just because they were fans of the song. I mean, come on, Guns N' Roses did Live and Let Die. We all know that's Paul McCartney. And they all did Knocking on Heaven's Door, which we all know is Bob Dylan. But Guns N' Roses threw them in there. They had a good time with them. They released a couple of cool tracks that everybody still loves to hear them play live. So, you have those examples. Or, by the way, you got Nirvana doing The Man Who Sold the World. Remember the acoustic version they did of that? It was awesome. It was really David Bowie. He had done it and put it out years before, but they had a good, modest, successful hit with it. Heard it on the radio. People like to hear it. Even somebody as thunderously heavy as Judas Priest has done multiple covers in their day. I mean, the Green Manalishi, again, Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac, Diamonds and Rust, Joan Baez. You don't really hear it, but it's her tune. Better by You, Better Than Me. That was a Spooky Tooth song, released years and years and years prior. And they also did Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry, but shit, everybody knew that was a cover. I mean, for the love of God, it was Johnny Be Good. I mean, you can't. You did know, right? And talk about a song so associated with somebody that you almost can't believe that it came from another human being. What about Betty Davis Eyes? You know that Kim Carnes hit that everybody in the 80s knows, everybody remembers. Everybody, it's her. You think Kim Carnes, that's where you go to. But did you know it was on a Jackie DeShannon record years before? Kind of crazy, isn't it? Or Manfred Mann's Earth Band doing Blinded by the Light. Come on. You think them, you think that tune, but it's an old Springsteen track. Is what it is. Then you get that weird pairing where you're like, this will never work. And yet somehow it does. Johnny Cash doing Hurt by Nine Inch Nails? Are you shitting me? I mean, everything written about that, everything when you project it into your mind should make that to be a train wreck. It should not work. It shouldn't. But you take Johnny Cash at that stage of his life, and we all know what stage of his life that was. It was at the very, very end. We could think back about all the things of his life and his crazy and wild existence that he always led up to it, or at least for a period of time. And you put that song with it, it's an instant classic. It became something that Johnny's known for, not something that Nine Inch Nails is known for. Unless you're like a really grunge guy from the 90s and that was like, oh my God, I can't believe Johnny's doing that. But it became a Johnny thing. Hell, there's even a couple of songs that when I first found out they were covers, even I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? No, I'm a music guy. How did I not know this when it first came out? And I found out years later, like, my mind was blown. Led Zeppelin's Baby I'm Gonna Leave You. Joan Baez. I didn't know in the beginning, I never knew. Who the hell knew? It wasn't until years later somebody told me. I'm like, no. Really? No. But really, it was. And what about Blondie's Hanging on the Telephone? Oh my God. That's one of their signature songs. I mean, it's one of their biggies. And yet, it was really a cover of the Nerves version of it. And you're like, what? How did that even happen? I never seen it coming. It literally, I was like, no. But yes, Mike's son told me about that one. My kid. Can you believe it? Who knew? And then you have people who literally, honestly, you start to think of as a cover musician. A cover, I hate the word artist. I fucking hate that word, so I avoid it like the plague. But a cover musician, cover act, cover whatever you want to call it. Because they've done so many of them, and all their hits and everything that you kind of remember them for happens to be covers. Literally. I mean, when Cyndi Lauper first came out, she had her song, which is still the thing that she's remembered for, mostly to and of this day. Girls just want to have fun. It's just the way it goes. But it wasn't hers. Nope. That came out on a Robert Hazard record years before. You would know it, you wouldn't think it, but it was. And Money Changes Everything? That was a song by the Brains. Weird, isn't it? Also, When You Were Mine? That was by Prince. Already out there in the ethos. And of course, you also have songs like All Through the Night. Jules Shear. I actually think half of the songs, I think it was 5 or 6 of the songs, off of the She's So, pardon me, can't speak today, the She's So Unusual album, were actually covers. The album was mostly covers, but still mostly what she's remembered for. And if anybody ever took cover tracks to home and said, I'm going to do a career out of cover tracks, is the one and only Joan Jett. I mean, nobody took it to heart more than she did. I mean, we are talking about I Love Rock and Roll. That was by the Arrows. Love Hurts. That was the Everly Brothers. Then covered by Nazareth. Then covered by her. You also got songs like Dirty Deeds. Well, come on. We don't even need to go where. That's AC/DC. Do You Want to Touch Who I won't even talk about because the guy that wrote it is a total whatever. But it was a cover. Crimson and Clover. You know, Tommy James and the Shondells is what it is. Also, you got songs like Real Wild Child, Iggy Pop and the Stooges, Everyday People, Sly and the Family Stone. There's literally, I think except for Hate Myself for Loving You, which was like a co-write or something like that, every song that you ever know her for was a cover. It's kind of extreme if you think about it. I mean, damn. Anyway, folks, if you know of some other covers out there, drop them in the comments below. If you have any strong opinions on cover songs, like they bug you, you can't stand them, or there's ones you like, throw them in the comments below. Also, I'm not ragging on any of these people for doing cover tunes. It is what it is. I think it's a little weird when your whole career is based on doing covers of other people's shit, but everybody does a cover every now and so often, just as a tribute, or a, hey, listen to what I liked, or this is what inspired us to get where we were going. I understand that. Some people take it to home. Some people might go too far. But the occasional cover, I got no real big beef with it. That's all we got for today. I will catch you next week. We'll have a fun little movie review. Be good. Take care. Stay out of trouble. Be kind to a stranger. Be there for a friend. And most of all, and I mean most of all, never take any bullshit from anybody. See y'all soon.